Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, John Campea. Thanks for being here, guys. In this very casual, laid-back, relaxed little video we're going to do here today, doing something that a bunch of people have been asking me to do lately, which is to do an Ask Me Anything video. Because, you know, every day we talk about movies and all that kind of stuff, and that's great. But a lot of times there are people who send me a bunch of questions about other things that I'm involved in or whatever, things about YouTubing, podcasting, the business, whatever. And I thought it'd be a cool idea today on this lazy Thursday. It's Star Wars Day, of course, getting out to go see Star Wars tonight. And, talk about the other things that we normally don't. Now, if you guys want to talk about movies, if you want to bring up a movie question, you're more than welcome to do so. But this is a good opportunity to ask about just about anything else. Anything else. I'm an open book. Within reason, of course, within reason, that you guys may want to talk to me about and talk about. And that's all cool too. Now, there are two ways to get questions for here on the Ask Me Anything. What I'm not going to do is take questions from the chat board because the chat board moves like this. It's impossible. So, two ways you can send in questions. I will take them from both. You can guarantee that your question gets asked by putting in the super chat, or you can take your chances and fire it in on tweets. I will answer tweets and super chats as well. And we'll do this for about, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour. We'll do this for. And we're just being really casual today. I'm not even going to try to be professional. Screw that. Just talking about the stuff that you guys want to talk about. So that's what we're going to do. And we are going to start. You know what? I think I'm going to start with our friends in Twitter. Let's see. Where is there a tweet? Let's see. Okay, let's try. You know what? No tweets have come in yet, so that's fine. So you guys can send off to me something on Twitter. By the way, if you do want to tweet to me, you can tweet to me at John Campea. So that's where you can tweet me there. So we'll start by going over to the Super Chat. And we're going to start with Super Chat. And the Super Chat is asking, net neutrality is dead. This is from Chris Korick, saying net neutrality is dead. As a creator and as a consumer, what does this mean for you and everyone else? Can companies decide not to participate? Well, yeah, the net neutrality thing, look, it's far bigger than I can go into in any real detail here, obviously, but net neutrality is incredibly important. Net neutrality, don't listen to whatever, you know, the internet companies are telling you. Do not listen to what your government officials are telling you. Net neutrality is about keeping the internet open and fair. That what's happened now with net neutrality gone, let's say Verizon is your home internet provider, but Verizon wants to start their own kind of YouTube kind of service. What Verizon can now do is they can throttle down the speeds to YouTube for all of their customers and try to increase the speeds, increase speeds that go to their service or whatever have you. Let's say Comcast was your internet provider and they go, oh, you want to be able to access Netflix? Well, you got to pay Netflix $12 a month, but now you also have to pay us an additional $2.95 a month, an extra $2.95 month charge on your internet bill if you want to access Netflix. They now have the right to do that. They can do that. If they decide, hey, you want to see YouTube? Let's say your home internet provider is, I don't know, Time Warner. Let's say the Time Warner is your home internet provider. And they go, oh, you want to go to YouTube? Okay, well, to access YouTube, you have to pay us an additional $1.99 a month. This sounds extreme, but this is now what these companies can do. This is what they're allowed to do now. And the internet is screwed. We are screwed until a new administration comes into power and gets this fucking thing under control and gets the rules of net neutrality put back in place. We cannot let these billion-dollar companies pay off these government officials to let this pass through because this is not for the good of America. This is not good for American citizens. This is not good for the internet. This is not good for anybody except the people who are getting their pockets lined by this. These are the only people that this is good for. And a new administration needs to step in and do something about it. Anyway, that's all the time I really have to dedicate to it. With nothing we can do about it right now, the people getting paid are the ones who are in charge right now. So we're just going to have to wait till a new group of people are involved and get this thing fixed. All right. The next one comes from Kaylin Webb, who writes, acclaimed board game company Fantasy Flight Games is releasing West End Games Star Wars D6 RPG with new forward by Pablo Hidalgo. My question is, do you accept fan mail? I had no. Hold a second. Hold on a second here. Are you telling me where the hell? There we go. Are you telling me West End Games is going to republish the D6? Seriously? I mean, West End Games doesn't. Are you being serious right now? Because if so, I am so freaking excited because these books are very hard to come by these days. I still play the Star Wars role-playing game. I love playing the Star Wars role-playing game. All my facts and notes and everything like this. I'm a nerd. Yes, I'm a total nerd. I believe the Star Wars D6 system is the best system ever created. It's such an intuitive, simple, straightforward, yet complex system that you can pick up just like that. It's such a great system. I love it. Bringing that back, I'm excited. And no, I do not accept fan email. Or I do accept fan email, but not fan mail, unfortunately. Thanks a lot for asking that, though, Kaylin. But holy, you just made my day, Kaylin. You just totally made my day. I'm going to be searching everywhere on the net now. Where are they going to be publishing these books? I'm going to be freaking buying all of them. Buying all of them. Anyway. Okay, sorry. I get a little excited about this stuff. This is, to me, this is really, really great news. Okay, you know what? Going to jump over to Twitter now for a minute here. Let's jump over to Twitter and see what we got. This tweet comes to us from Marcus B07 says, will you ever have guests on your show? Well, once in a while. Like I've had my buddy Rod. Rodney's been on my show, so I've had him there. But it is difficult for me to have like regular guests because this is a one-man show, basically. On top of that, I do these shows when everybody else is at work. Like all of my friends have jobs and they're all at work. And I do my show like right now at 10 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's at work at 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's difficult for me to do it that way. It's a lot simpler for me to do my shows solo. And to be honest, I'm having a lot of fun doing them solo. But never say never. Never say never. I'm open to some ideas, especially if I get enough Patreon supporters and I'm actually able to hire a person to come in and work with me, then maybe we'll see some more people on the show as well, if that can happen. Let's see. This one came from Will the Rooster writes, John, was there a solo trailer at the Star Wars Last Jedi premiere? There are never trailers at premieres. Premieres never show trailers. So no, that doesn't mean there won't be a trailer in front of Star Wars Night, although I think we would have heard about it by now. But no, there were no trailers for that at the Last Jedi premiere. Let's see. This one comes to us. Oh, there we go. It's right here. Warrior8244 writes, John, how does it feel to do what you love and not work a 9 to 5? Love what you do, bro. Well, look, the whole reason I left, one of the reasons I left my corporate gig was because I love working for myself. Not working 9 to 5. I work a lot more than 9 to 5. The nice thing, though, is that I'm doing it for myself. That is the great thing. But I'm putting in a hell of a lot more than 8 hours a day, doing everything that we do. I am the camera person, the graphics person, the researcher, the person writing the notes, doing all my own research, being the on-camera talent, editing, uploading, rendering. I do it all. And I'm doing a hell of a lot more than 9 to 5, but it is great doing it for myself, and I am having a great time. I don't know if you guys can tell watching me these days, but I am thoroughly enjoying what I am doing. Thank you so much for asking, man. All right, let's go back over to the super chats here. Let's see. This one comes to us from, where'd it go? Where'd Aussie Nerd go? Where'd Aussie Nerd go? There's Aussie Nerd. Do you like the direction Collider has gone? Look, I want to be very careful how I answer that. I'm still friends with a lot of the people over there, and I love those guys. Let me just put it this way. Are they doing everything that I would do? No. Are they doing some things I wouldn't do? Yeah. But you know what? That can be a good thing. You know, one of the things I told the staff when I was leaving was that, you know, one of the great things about change is no matter how amazing I am, I mean, I'm pretty amazing, but no matter how amazing your leader is or your leadership is, that one of the great things about change is that, you know, sometimes trying new things is for the best. And one of the things I told the staff when I was leaving was that, hey, you know what? One of the great possibilities here is that there are some things I would never have allowed to happen, and now they can happen. There are some things I never would have tried, and now they can be tried. There are maybe some things I would have done that maybe now won't be done. And sometimes just change for the sake of change is good to try. So What do I think about their direction? It's not for me to say. Are they doing some things I wouldn't do? Yes. Have they done some things I wouldn't have let them do? Yes. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, maybe it's a good thing. So, what do I think about the direction? It's not my place to say. There are some really smart people over there, some people I have a huge amount of respect for, obviously, because I hired most of them that are there. So, I have a huge amount of respect for them. And I think they're doing some things. And look, they're failing at some things, they're succeeding at some things, just like I'm failing at some things and I'm succeeding at some things. That's what it's all about. Let's give them a lot more time to see where they go. All right, let's go on to Love and Debate. Just put in a super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you, Love and Debate. Luis Blanco writes, what does your wife think about your vids and rants? Okay, my wife, by the way, a lot of you guys don't get to meet Anne very often, but Anne, my wife, is simply the most rockin' woman in the world. My wife, Anne, is just the best. She's the best. She's hyper educated. She's got 2 master's degrees. She's great. When I met her, she was the political field rep for the congresswoman in Orange County. She has worked in healthcare. She is a project manager by trade. She's one of the big, project management people at Hasbro right now. She gets to work on things like Star Wars and Marvel and all that kind of crap. She's super aggressive. She's super ambitious. She's super intelligent, and she's super high. Actually, let me pull a picture over here. For those of you who haven't met Anne before, Anne is also really into cosplay. So there's Anne. She as a Green Arrow. Anne as Wonder Woman meeting a young fan at Comic-Con. This is my favorite. This is Anne's slave Princess Jasmine Leia. It's a mix between. It's one of my favorite cosplays of hers. It's a mix between Jasmine from Aladdin and Slave Princess Leia, which is just awesome. So she's into poker. She's super intelligent, educated. She loves nerd stuff. She's into movies. She's into the UFC. She is just like the ultimate woman. She was designed. God designed this woman for me. And I'm just the luckiest guy in the world. But what does she think of my rants and raves? She rolls her eyes at me a lot, as I'm sure a lot of you assholes do. She rolls her eyes at me a lot. And what's really funny is, when she and I first got together, when we would go out in public and say like a fan would recognize me and come up to me and talk to me and take a picture, whatever, Anne used to think that's the coolest thing in the world. She's like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like somebody recognized you in the street and walks up. Yeah, she's over that. She's over that. Now, if we're walking around Burbank or whatever, and somebody comes walking up to me and says, oh, John, big fan, whatever, and talk to me or whatever, and they leave. And is like, why are they interested in talking to you? She is just completely over it. Like 100%, she's over it. But she's pretty gay. But she just has a laugh at my rant. When I get ranting and raving, she just goes, oh, John. So, but whatever. She's great. Thank you a lot. I love being, I don't get a chance a lot on the show to talk about Anne and my wife. So thank you very much for asking. I really appreciate it. All right, let's move on here. Next one. Sneep Weep writes, what's up? Why is Return of the Jedi your favorite Star Wars movie? Well, for a couple of reasons. One, it's just got some of the best, most iconic stuff. Like, first of all, the greatest scene in any movie in history for me is the throne room scene between Vader and Luke. So there's that. You also have the greatest space battle ever in the history of film is Return of the Jedi. Nothing Star Wars has done, nothing any other movie franchise has done has come close. I also love the whole starting stuff with Jabba. I love, obviously, the throne room stuff. And, I put up a video called Screw You, I Love the Ewoks. To me, the Ewoks are brilliant. If you don't dig the Ewoks, you don't understand the Ewoks. I put up a video, search YouTube for John Campea, Screw You, I Love the Ewoks. And I go into why the Ewoks are awesome. And I love the Ewoks. So to me, that's just why, that reason and many others is why Return of the Jedi just happens to be my favorite. I'll say it's going to hit this quick. Is my favorite of the Star Wars films. All right, let's move on here. Oliver Mullen writes, what are Sony's plans after Spider-Man Homecoming 2? A recast again of a new Spider-Man for their future Sony Marvel Universe that starts with a new Venom movie? No, I think right now they have a guy they really like. and that we all like. He's doing a great job. I think their plans are just to stick with him. Now, once again, the deal between Sony and Marvel is going to run out shortly after that. So, but I think most people believe they're going to Marvel and or at least Disney and Sony will re-up their deal because it's good for Sony, it's good for Marvel. Everybody's happy, everybody's winning, and I don't know how it'll tie into this Venom universe, but I think that Disney and Sony will re-up their deal. That's just my thought. Let's see. Steven C20 writes, do you still watch Riverdale? Will you review? I kind of gave up on Riverdale. You know, I like season 1. I did. I mean, I'm torn about it because it's such teenage angst bullshit. But at the same time, it had some very intricate narrative. Like the narrative is actually quite deep and mature and really fascinating the way they do it. But it's all put in the shell of this teenage angst bullshit that I really kind of can't stand. But overall, I enjoyed it. But I haven't watched like the last 4 episodes, I think. I'm like 4 episodes behind, which is funny because Kaori keeps saying, John, are you watching? Have you caught up yet? I'm like, no. So she kind of gave up doing those reviews because I stopped watching them. But I will probably binge and get caught up because the show does interest me. And I was into season 2 before I kind of abandoned it, but I'll probably binge watch it and get caught back up. Aaron Stolinsky is writing, hey, John, I'm curious what your life goal is. Like, what is the principle for you? Becoming the next Kevin Feige, doing YouTube as long as possible? I think ultimately, this is going to sound like such bullshit, but I promise you this is absolutely true. I think I'm like a lot of you guys. I want to change the world. And, you know, Ann and I do a bunch of stuff. We do a bunch of charity stuff, you know, and whatever. We enjoy doing that stuff. And whatever I do, I hope I have a platform where I can influence people positively. I mean, I know that sounds like bullshit, but whatever. It is what it is. And maybe I do it well and maybe I do it badly, but I hope I can be a better human being as I get, you know, as I grow and things like that. Really, my goal is just to try to make the world a better place. And if I can do that through being a film fan, then great. If I can play a little small part in making the world better and life better for people by being a film fan, then I'll do that. If I can do it by being a musician, I'll do that. If I can do that by going into government, maybe I'll go into government. I just thought I had a better chance at doing this and making life better for people and more enjoyable, more fun by doing this than I was working in law, and I have more fun doing it. So, but as far as life goes, like, do I plan on doing YouTube forever? I don't know. We'll see. I get to do a job where I get to talk about film, and I love you. If you guys have seen me talk about how important I think movies are as a storytelling medium for us as a species, and the fact that I get to be involved in that and interact with other film fans, you guys, every day is a freaking, I mean, it's unbelievable. I have to bust my ass and I have to work my ass off, and it's hard and it's long hours and it's all that kind of crap, but it's so worth it. It's so enjoyable. It's so fulfilling. It's so fun. And you know, when I get these emails, I don't read you guys 1/10 of the emails that I get. But like 2 nights ago, I got this email from a guy. He was a vet. He's in hospital. And he's been held up in hospital for a while, and he watches my show every day as a part of helping him get through his days. And like I call Ann, and I show those to Ann, and I nearly break down every time I read these things. To know that we can all connect on that level through a medium of what we are as a species, storytellers, through movies is just amazing. And I know I'm not making any sense because I'm trying to say this very quickly so we can move on to other questions, but I'm incredibly touched and honored that I get to do this for a living, and I'm incredibly touched and honored you guys join me every day as we talk about this shit. So anyway, there you go. Bad answer, I know, but anyway. Thank you so much, Aaron. All right, next. Silo360 writes, hey, John, love your work. I've been curious as to your post-production setup. Personally, I use Final Cut and Premiere. What nonlinear editor do you use and why? I was a Premiere guy when I first started in post-production stuff. This is like 10 years ago. Then I switched over to Max, and I was using Final Cut Pro. But then Premiere matured a lot, and Premiere has become the go-to editor of choice for a lot of professional editors. And I rediscovered Premiere, and I re-fell in love with Premiere. I use Adobe Premiere. And I use some After Effects. I use, for my audio stuff, I use Adobe Audition. So, I mean, I'm very much into that. I'm very much into the whole Adobe suite. That is my nonlinear editor of choice. Obviously, I use Photoshop for most of my graphics, as most people do. I'll use Pixlr online for some quick edit jobs I need to do graphically, but for the most part, I use Photoshop. But yeah, Premiere, when I have to do editing, Premiere is my editor of choice. It has been for a long time. I'm really happy with it. As far as my system goes, right now I'm running a PC system. So I've got a quad-core i7 7700 chipset series, 16 gigs of RAM. I've got 3 solid-state drives and 1 physical hard drive on top of that. I use a Canon 7D as my camera, running through a Blackmagic intensity capture card through my machine, and I use Wirecast for my live streaming. So that's kind of an overview of what I do. You know what I'm going to do in January or February? I'm going to put together a full, because I have a 2-hour video on YouTube. If you search for it, you can find it. It's called John Campea Getting Started. If you look for that, it's a 2-hour video on getting started in YouTubing and podcasting. But I made it like 3 years ago now. I think I'll make an updated one with all the updated gear and everything I use. I'm using a PC right now, but I'm not going to lie. I think I'm going to buy that iMac Pro. Because have you seen the specs on the iMac Pro that just got released today? I priced it out with a comparable PC. It's cheaper than a comparable PC. It's nuts. It's $5,000. But the specs on it, I might switch to that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's the NLE I use. I use Adobe Premiere. Thanks for asking. Illicid 0685 writes, what's going to happen to Gambit? Well, that was a question that actually came up on the John Campea show earlier today. We don't know. Gambit's in a different situation than, say, Deadpool 2, X-Men Phoenix, and New Mutants, because those 3 movies are already done shooting, so nothing's going to happen to those. What's going to happen to Gambit? What's going to happen to the James Franco Multiple Man movie that they announced? If Marvel wants to reboot the X-Men franchise, that Gambit movie may be gone. James Franco's Multiple Man movie may be gone. Or they might just move ahead with them. Who knows? There are so many details in this Disney-Fox deal that we don't know, that we're just going to have to wait for the coming days, weeks, months, and years to find out for sure. So let's just hang on and see what happened. Steve C20 is asking, what were the 4 to 5 movies you cried while watching? Okay. 2 of them I can tell you off the top of my head. One was My Best Friend's Wedding. The Julia Roberts comedy? Yep. And here's why. I explained this on the show the other day, but the end scene of that movie, Julia Roberts' the guy she was in love with ends up marrying somebody else. Spoiler alert. The movie's 20 years old. What do you want? So, and she's at his wedding, and she calls her closest friend, this gay guy that lives in Chicago. She calls her closest friend to talk to him so he can comfort her. And as he answers the phone, she realizes he's there. He flew across the country to be there because he knew his friend was going to need him. And he flew there and was there for her. Can you see on the camera? I'm getting like harsh goosebumps and the hair standing up on my arms just thinking about this scene. Because see, what gets me in movies is not love and romance. That stuff doesn't get me. What gets me is extreme loyalty and friendship. Examples and stories of extreme loyalty and friendship, that gets me. That's right here, man. That's right here. I love that stuff. And so My Best Friend's Wedding, when Rupert Everett, that's the actor who plays the character, when he flies there to be there for her at the wedding and surprise her to be there for her because she was going to need her friend. I cried. Another one is Roberto Benigni's Life is Beautiful. I kid you not, no word of a lie. I was in a movie theater in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, watching that movie, and there were a couple of Hell's Angels in there. And when that movie ended, why Hell's Angels were going to see Roberto Benigni's Italian film Life is Beautiful, I have no idea. Nobody had a dry eye in that theater. No one. Not the bikers, not the accountants, nobody. Everybody was a freaking mess. When that movie ends, everybody's in tears. What else was there? I know there were a couple more, but I can't remember them off the top of my head right now. Why? I'm a drama blank. There were a couple more. There were 2 others. And I'm drawing a blank. So I'm sorry about that. But if I remember them, if they come off the top of my head, I'll mention them again. John Hayek is writing, what are the best movie theaters in LA? The AMC Burbank 16 is terrific. Their AMC Prime Theater is fantastic. The ArcLight Hollywood is fantastic. And then there's the Landmark Theaters on Pico Boulevard, which have like these living room theater setups where it's just all leather couches. It's a wonderful theater. Those are my three favorite theaters to go to. So the AMC Burbank 16, the ArcLight Hollywood, and the Landmark Theaters on Pico. Those are my favorite places to go to the movies in LA. Love and Debates writer, who's better, Kobe or LeBron? Oh, that's easy, LeBron, by a mile. Kobe is not a part of the discussion anymore. That's fine. Kobe was great, but the discussion is Jordan or LeBron. That's the real question. The real question is Jordan or LeBron. And the answer to that question is still Jordan, in my opinion. Jordan is still that, but LeBron is still playing at a wicked high level. Like, he's still an MVP candidate every single year. Every GM says he's the first player they would take on their team. He's still that guy after 15 seasons. He's still got a bunch more years. But right now, I think the answer to that is Jordan. But Kobe's not part of that discussion. He's not. The discussion is Jordan or LeBron, not Kobe or LeBron. That discussion ended a couple of years ago. In my opinion, you may have a totally different opinion, which is totally cool. If I wasn't doing movie punditry, I would be a sports broadcaster. That's totally, and I'm not lying. That's what I would have gone into, is sports broadcasting. Let's see. Nathan, what happened with the Gore Verbinski Clue reboot? I remember hearing whispers about that, but then I just didn't hear anything after. So it just died. Gore Verbinski, I believe he's now theoretically doing the Gambit movie, if I'm remembering correctly. I think it was Gore Verbinski that signed up to do the Gambit movie. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the case. All right, let me jump back down here, see if there's any more questions in Twitter. Let's see. This one comes to us from, if I can get it to come up here. Here he goes. EJ the Badass 24 says, John, what was your childhood like? I'm very curious to find out. My childhood was great. I was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia, on the east coast of Canada. But really, I grew up, and very early on, we moved to Hamilton, Ontario. And Hamilton, Ontario, which is a city about 45 minutes outside of Toronto. And it's a big city. I mean, now altogether, I think it's got close to 1 million people that live there. Hamilton, Ontario is my favorite city in the world, known as the Hammer. Steel City is also what it's called because of the big steel mills that are there. And I grew up there. I went to Catholic high school. Big Italian population in Hamilton. I don't know if a lot of you guys know that. I am Italian. My real name's Giovanni. Grew up with my family there because my grandfather came over on the boat and he brought the whole family with him. My grandfather Giovanni, his brothers Carlos, Romolo, Vincenzo, Sagarlo, they all came over. Then he brought his wife and his kids over. My dad is one of 6. My dad is the oldest of 6 kids. My dad Pasquale, that is my dad's name, Pasquale. His brother Paul, who is the youngest, and then 4 sisters in between. Susan, and Maria, I believe, are twins. And then we had the 2 younger sisters were Pina and Leonora. And those are my aunts. And the whole Italian Campea clan lives in Hamilton. And I grew up there, and I love my childhood, and I love my family, and I miss them a lot. I'm going to get choked up if I'm not careful. I miss my family terribly. I have 3 siblings. There's, like my dad's family, oldest is the brother, youngest is the brother, and then girls in the middle. I come from a family of 4 kids. I'm the oldest. Then I got my 2 sisters, Heather and Sandy. And then the youngest in our family is my brother, Rob. And Robert's the youngest, and he's got a family of his own now, and I don't get to see or talk to my family nearly enough because I'm in LA and they're up in Hamilton. And I go back to Hamilton every Christmas and enjoy myself a great deal. All right, let's go back over here. Let's see. I'm trying to find things that are not movie questions because we get to talk about movies every day. Real Nitpick P writes, "Hey John, love your work. Thank you so much. Will you actually buy the new iMac Pro? I am honestly thinking about it because look, my whole life is production. I am editing and shooting and streaming video every day. So I need a machine that can do it as good as possible and as fast as possible and as reliable as possible. And every time, and a lot of the stuff I do, especially this live stream with graphics, blah, 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 this is actually pretty processor intensive. So I am actually seriously thinking about getting that new iMac Pro. I'm considering it. I have to get my wife's permission because whenever, if one of us is going to drop $5,000, we have to get the other person's permission. I would need her permission, of course, to go out and drop $5,000 on a computer. But, I mean, it's a business expense. So I'm looking at that. I am looking at that. Let's see. Let's go back over now to the Super Chat questions coming in here. So let's see here. Cruise Reviews writes, any chance you'll ever do a long live stream marathon like the one at AMC a couple of years back? Maybe not 24 hours. I realize you're just one guy. Yeah, if the right thing comes up that I think I can be of help doing, I'll do it. If the right thing. Remember though, that 24-hour marathon made me and Dennis Zen so sick that I think I was out for like 2.5 weeks. I think I was out for 2.5 weeks. And I think Dennis was over 3 weeks that he was out. And we both nearly died doing that 24-hour marathon. We raised over $25,000 for a great cause, so it was totally worth it. But it would be really tough to do that by myself again. Who knows? Maybe that's something that me and the guys at Collider, I mean, I don't want to do anything with the people at Collider anymore. Not with the people, with Collider. I don't want to do anything with Collider anymore. They're their own thing now. I'm my own thing now. But maybe if there was a charity thing that we could do together, because I certainly couldn't do it by myself, maybe that's something that I would look at doing. Thanks a lot for the question. All right. Jacob Leaf writes in, advice dealing with depression. Okay. The best thing I can say about that is this. Anybody who has not struggled with depression, don't fool yourself into thinking you have good advice to give. I am very lucky. I have never dealt with depression or struggled with depression. Therefore, anything I say would just be stupid and dumb because I cannot relate, and I'm not going to be so dumb to pretend like I can relate. The best advice I can give is seek out somebody professionally that you can talk to. That's what they're there for, man. They are there for you. That's a tool in your belt, not a tool belt in your tool. It is a tool in your tool belt. Take advantage of it. Go take advantage of it. And kudos to you if you yourself are struggling with depression. Kudos to you for being open about it and acknowledging it. That's awesome. Go seek somebody out. There's a lot of professionals who can work through that with you. Don't ask idiots like me who haven't struggled with depression and therefore cannot relate. So any advice I have to give would just be dumb and stupid because I'm dumb and stupid. Seek out a professional and get some help there. But again, kudos to you for acknowledging that and putting it out on the table. That's awesome. That tells me you're actually on the right path and you're a pretty smart guy to start with. All right. Next one comes to us from, if I don't lose the question, and I lost the question, going to see if I can find it again. La, 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 la. Oh, wow. A hell of a lot of super chats come in. Okay. Caleb Lawrence writes, thoughts on the new animated Spider-Man movie? I think the movie, I've mentioned this on the John Campea show. I think the movie could be great. I don't like the trailer. But that's just the first trailer. Let's see what the other trailers look like. I just didn't like the first one. I wasn't impressed by it. K Major writes in, I know I'm probably late to the show, but explain to me, why is it after 2 outings, Ben Affleck is out as Batman? He was going to be Batman forever, or at least 4 movies, but now he's out. What happened? Well, dude, like this all goes back like 9 months ago. This is not all of a sudden. I told everybody 9 months ago that Ben Affleck's days as Batman were coming to an end. I told everybody, and just everybody online decided to shit on me for just telling you what I knew. And everybody decided to shit on me. People made videos about me. People saying I was stupid. I don't know what I'm talking about. Blah, blah, blah. And yet here we are. There was a lot of stuff that went down. Some of the stuff I'm not going to comment on because some of the stuff is not meant for public knowledge. But look, there was big issues going on both with Ben Affleck. Then there was some conflict between Ben and the studio. It just fell apart really fast. But there's a contract involved that he's obligated to finish out a certain number of things, and that's probably going to happen. It looks like there's a decent chance that he will do the Flashpoint movie. And remember, I told you guys from the beginning, there's a 50-50 chance he does one more after Justice League because he's obligated to do one more. But then after that, you're going to see a new Batman. And from everything that we're seeing, that's the case. And it sucks because he's my favorite Batman. And I love Ben Affleck. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. He's one of my favorite actors. I have a lot of respect for the guy as a professional. And really sucks that we're not going to see him anymore. But as far as the intricate details, There's some stuff I'm not even supposed to know about that I'm not going to talk about here online. So, because that would be inappropriate. But thank you for the question. All right. Santiago Paz writes, let's see, what percentage are you going that they just merged the original Ryan Reynolds Deadpool into the MCU? Only problem is they've already shown the X-Mansion in it. Don't worry about that. With Fox, continuity, schmontinuity. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Remember Ryan Reynolds? Remember you say the original Ryan Reynolds Deadpool? This isn't the original Ryan Reynolds Deadpool. The original Ryan Reynolds Deadpool was in X-Men Origins Wolverine. That was the original Deadpool. And they just got rid of him and just said, oh, let's pretend that didn't happen. Now Ryan Reynolds is a new Deadpool. That's what they did. It's not a problem for them. Trust me. With Avengers in the MCU, it's a problem. But anything they did prior to them coming over to the MCU won't be an issue. Will not be an issue. Al Calderon writes, do you remember the movie called Kung Pao? Yeah, I do. Got a kick out of it. It was a fun movie. Let's see. Kaylin Webb writes, thoughts on overpopulation. In my opinion, every problem in the world comes down to overpopulation. Overpopulation is a huge issue in the world. I'm not going to pretend that I understand the issue completely, but I'm smart enough to know that it's a major issue. So much so that the plot for a lot of movies is about a villain trying to wipe out half the population to cure the problem of overpopulation. Again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an expert on the issue, but just from a layman's point of view, it seems like at some point, the world is going to have a really good discussion with itself about how we deal with this, because we cannot keep exponentially having our population grow because the planet cannot sustain it. So at some point, it's going to have to be a big thing that gets addressed, absolutely. But again, I am no expert, so I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. That's just my thoughts as a layman. Thanks for the question. All right. Stephen C20 is writing, John Williams' score is great, but dated in my opinion. You lost me already. It's still the most iconic, memorable, striking, awe-inspiring theme there is. So I was disappointed when the amazing Zimmer score was not in Justice League. P.S. I'm glad they aren't rebooting. Can't go without Henry Cavill and the Zimmer score. Don't discount that they may still reboot. Rebooting is still the smart thing to do. Right now, they're still saying they're moving ahead with this, that, and the other thing. But half the movies they're announcing that they talked about in this, they don't have directors for, they don't have release dates for. Who knows what's going to happen? Especially now, once AT&T comes in that merger with Warner, where AT&T takes over Warner Brothers, who knows what's going to happen at that point? Who knows what's going to happen at that point? So a lot of things could change. There's a reason why they don't have another movie coming out until the end of 2018. A lot of things can change between now and then. So, I mean, it's likely it's going to happen the way they're saying it. That's likely. But don't put all your money on that just yet. That's my thought on it. Anyway. Let's see. K Major wrote, what happened to your Arrow review show with Anne? I gave up on Arrow. Arrow, midway through season 3, jumped the shark to me. And they just went ridiculous with Captain Buckles and all this kind of stuff. And I got tired of it, and I abandoned the show. So that's what happened. Now, Anne still watched it, and then she came back. She came to Collider when I was there and started doing the Arrow after show at Collider with other people, but I gave up on it. So that's what happened to that show. Thank you. I'm I'm fascinated that you remember that, actually. That was a few years ago. Thanks for asking, K Major. Ho J. Simpson writes, hey, John, greetings from Germany. Thank you so much. Saw The Last Jedi last night, and I really liked it, but I think the forced humor kind of killed some of the scenes where I disagree. I completely disagree. Actually, the theater I was in was loving it. I thought the humor, except for one scene, there was one scene that I'm not going to give anything away, where the humor did not work for me because it felt forced. Everything else felt great and felt very consistent with the humor in The Force Awakens. So, hey, film is subjective. It hit you a certain way. I totally respect that. But it hit me a different way. I quite enjoyed it, to be honest with you. Zach Remsburg says, please answer my Twitter question. Zach, listen, I literally have now like 200 tweets here. So I mean, if you want to tweet in a question, you're rolling the dice because I can only get to so many of them. If I come across it, I'll answer it. But that's all I can say. No promises. Thomas Purdy writes, what is Fox's plans for their main TV network? Disney will want to eventually move the properties out of their streaming service, so will Fox purchase shows made by third parties or stick to news and sports? That's a great question, Thomas, Because as part of this deal, Fox still has, the Fox Broadcasting Network still belongs to Fox. What you got is you have Disney bought their television production assets, but the network still stays with Fox. Disney would have been risking an antitrust problem with the FTC if they had also bought the network, because they already own ABC. That would be anti-competitive. They can't do that. I think what you're suggesting, I don't know this, I'm just taking a guess. I think what you're suggesting is probably what will happen, is that they'll just become a place to air other productions programming. So some companies produce TV shows, Fox becomes a place that they air it, but they probably won't be producing their own shows. So that, I think the way you've nailed it is probably absolutely 100% right. Let's wait and find out. I could be wrong about that. Spark the producer just put in a super chat. Thank you so much. Stephen C20 writes, I love the show, watch every day. If the general audience liked Wonder Woman, which had strong legs, why did Justice League make less? I thought winning cured everything. Hey, look, that's one of the things I brought up, and everybody hated that I said this, but I think, if you saw my review, I really liked Wonder Woman a lot. But I think we have to revisit our notions about how much did people actually love Wonder Woman. Because if people really loved it that much, they would have come back to watch her again in Justice League, because she's one of the lead characters in Justice League. So I think we have to challenge. I think we just had our preconceived notions that people loved Wonder Woman, and a lot of people clearly did. But I think we now have to have that assumption challenged by the fact, well, if people loved it that much, it was only a few months ago, why were they not interested in coming back to the theater and watching her again? That's a serious question. That is a big question. So maybe people didn't love Wonder Woman as much as we think they did. That certainly some people did, and certainly a lot of people liked it. I liked it. I mean, I think most of you guys liked it. It's a good... Patty Jenkins is brilliant. She's a brilliant director. But if people loved it to the degree that we always thought they did, they would have come back to watch her again, and they didn't. So that's something that we got to ask ourselves. Let's see. Jamie writes, a very personal question, but that's fine. What are your religious beliefs? Okay, I'll tell you what my religious beliefs. I'm going to keep this very short, though. I am a theist in the sense that my religious beliefs is I believe in God. I believe in the basic Judeo-Christian traditions and stuff like that. But I also believe that the North American church has very little to do with Christianity. I mean, that's kind of my belief right there. I'm not going to go into it too terribly much. Those are just my surface thoughts you asked, so I answered. There you go. All right. Jay Solers, too, just put in a super chat. Thank you so much. KJ Kings. Oh, by the way, guys, if you're watching right now, please don't send in any more super chats. I want to get through these, and then I want to get to a few more Twitter questions as well. Can you talk a little bit about your faith? Well, I just kind of did. I don't want to go into it too much because people get turned off hearing people talk about religious beliefs. I will say this. I generally adhere to the traditional Judeo-Christian belief system, but I also don't have a lot of faith or belief in the North American Christian church. I think the North American Christian church bears very little resemblance to the teachings of Jesus. So I'm in a very rough place. I think I'm kind of in the same place that a lot of people are in. I have faith, but I don't have a lot of faith in the institutions as they exist today. Because I think the North American Christian church abandoned Christianity, to be honest with you. I think the North American religious right were more interested in making it out like God looked like them instead of trying to make themselves look more like God. Yeah. So I just got a whole bunch of people mad at me. Whatever. Moving on. Hello, Mr. Campea. What do you think of Randolph? You're going to have to give me a last name. I'm not really quite sure who you're talking about. Michael Movie Talk and Reviews writes, how to make vids just showing pics and not my face. You just answer your questions. Make a video and put a graphic of your face over the video so you just have your audio. It's just that simple. You answered your own question. There you go, Michael. I hope that's helpful, I guess. Aussie Nerd writes, why did you decide to focus on movies? Because I love the movies, man. My earliest childhood memory is my mom taking me to see Star Wars. That's my earliest childhood memory. I have no other memory till a few years after that. But I remember watching Star Wars with my mom. That became a pivotal, and as cool or as stupid as this is, that became a pivotal and defining thing for me in my life. What we as a species are, I've given this speech before, but we as a species, at our core, we are storytellers. That's what we do. You go back to the earliest days of mankind, whether it's drawing of pictures on the walls, telling stories around a campfire, writing them out, the advent of the printing press, and then the moving pictures. We are storytellers. We tell stories about where we've been, where we come from, where we're going, what our hopes are as a species, what our dreams, what our aspirations, what our fears are, the best of us and the worst of us. It's all in the medium of the movies. The movies is the ultimate manifestation of us as storytellers. And movies connect us all. Like, here's the great thing. Regardless of our race, of our economic status, of our sexual orientation, of whatever, of our gender, we all can talk about the movies. I remember this one time I was at San Diego Comic-Con. I had to grab a cab or an Uber. I grabbed an Uber, and there was this dude from Zimbabwe who had been in the States for maybe 2 years. I could hardly understand him because his accent was very heavy. And we couldn't have been two more different people. But something happened. There was some poster we passed, and we started talking about Lord of the Rings. And for the next 15 minutes of my trip, we talked Lord of the Rings. Two guys, never met each other, from different countries, different races, different backgrounds, and we were sitting there having a great conversation about the movies. There's something magical about that to me. There's something important. I actually get a little bit offended when people say, oh, it's just the movies. Anybody who says it's just the movies, then you don't understand what we are as a species. If you say just the movies. The movies transcends our barriers and unites us all. I remember this thing about Saddam Hussein, one of the most evil incarnate human beings alive. But what was his favorite thing? The Godfather. He loved The Godfather. So, there you go. It doesn't matter where you go, the movies connects us all. And to me, when you have something that's that powerful and that unifying, it's just a special thing. And for me to be able to do what I do, playing in the playground of the movies, is just amazing to me. And maybe that sounds stupid as hell. I'm not saying I don't sound stupid, but it's just, that's what it is to me. But anyway, thanks for the question, Aussie Nerd. Let's see. Ben Rayner saying, John, did you hear that Roy is coming back to Arrow? Does this make you mad again? Or did he end up growing on you in Arrow? Actually, the Roy character, and I'm forgetting the actor's name. Anne loves him. But the guy who played Roy's, the character did grow on me. By the time he left, I was actually kind of sad to see him go. So I'm kind of interested in him coming back, to be honest with you. I'm still not 100% back on board with Arrow, but him coming back, I think, is a nice move at this point. So he did grow on me, because I used to hate him at first, but the character did grow on me. Let's see. Michael Zanjani writes, will you do UFC recaps? I've been thinking about it. I don't want to do them alone, though. Dennis and I have talked for a long time about doing UFC recaps. And maybe we'll do it, but here's the thing. I don't think Dennis, and I haven't talked to Dennis about this, but Dennis and I still watch UFCs together. He comes over here, the last couple of UFC, he comes over and he brings his beautiful girlfriend over and a bunch of people, and we come and we watch UFCs together. But Dennis works for a particular YouTube channel, and I don't think he would be even allowed to do a UFC recap thing on somebody else's YouTube channel. I don't think he'd be allowed to do that. So unless I can find somebody who I think is really good and as smart as, say, a Dennis Zen is, to come and do those with me, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll just wait and see. All right, let me go over and grab one or two more tweets, and then we'll go back to the super chats. Let's see. Let me refresh. Again, trying to find things that are not asking about movies. Okay, this one, if I can get my mouse to work. My mouse has been acting funny lately. This next one comes to us from a sci-fi writer who writes, hey, John, love the show. Thanks for all you do. Thank you so much. Easier, in your opinion, to write, a screenplay or a novel? I think that all depends on who you are. For me, writing a screenplay was a lot easier than writing a novel. because in the screenplay there's structure you can use and how you write it that makes it a lot easier. I'm telling you, I wrote my screenplay for my film. I wrote that, I think, in under a year. The novel took me 5 years. And you can tell. You can tell I did not do a great job of it. Oh, I like my story very much, but I think screenwriting is a bit easier just because there are mechanisms there that will cover up some of your deficiencies, I think. So for me, I had a much easier time writing a screenplay than I did a novel. Some other people who write may tell you that it's the opposite. So I think it really all depends on who you are. But for me, the easier one for me was absolutely the novel, or the screenplay was the easier one for me. This next one comes from HZ0023, writes, John, favorite sports teams? Toronto Maple Leafs for life, my man. I bleed blue and white. I have been a long-suffering Toronto Maple Leafs fan my entire life. I have never got to see a Toronto Maple Leaf in my lifetime lift up the Stanley Cup. That is my curse. But they are my all-time favorite team. My favorite basketball team is the Cleveland Cavaliers. My favorite football team is the New England Patriots. They have been ever since Bill Parcells became the coach there. I don't even consider baseball a sport. But if I had to say a favorite baseball team, the Toronto Blue Jays. So those are my favorites. And my favorite sport is hockey and UFC. Hockey and UFC are my favorite sports. So thank you so much for asking. Let's see. This one comes to us from Irod, who writes, John, your experience with LA traffic in a nutshell. Much worse today than when you first arrived, I presume? Well, yes, traffic in LA is everything you've heard it is. It's a nightmare. But that's why I moved to Burbank. Because when I was with AMC and we were opening our first studio, it was at the AMC Burbank 16, and I said, screw commuting. I want us to find a place where I can walk to the studio. And we got a place here in Burbank. It's a ridiculously expensive place to live. It's insane. You guys would not believe what you have to pay for a 2-bedroom apartment in Burbank. It would blow your mind. But it was important to me to be able to walk to work. And then, lo and behold, Anne got a job at Hasbro right up the street. So, she's a bigwig over at Hasbro now. So we're both really like, I get to work from home now. When I want to go to the movies, I just walk up to the AMC Burbank 16. Anne's only got like a 7-10 minute drive to work. It's great. But I don't really have to deal with daily commuting because I work from home. And even when I was still working with the AMC or Collider, I was able to walk to my studio. So I never had to worry about commuting. So traffic to me is easy. But yeah, traffic in LA is an absolute nightmare. Let's see. I'm going to go back over now to the super chats because I got a bunch of super chats I still have to get through here. Let's see. This one comes to us from Jamie, who writes, John, I love your show and I agree with your opinions 90% of the time. Remember, the important thing is not to agree with my opinion. It's totally cool to have a different of opinion. I hope we have differences of opinion most of the time. The idea is, though, that am I not saying what you agree with, but am I saying things in such a way that helps you sharpen your own opinion, whether it's the same as mine or whether it's different from mine? That's the important thing. But anyway, hey, John, love your show and I agree with your opinions 90% of the time. You are very entertaining. You complete me, brochacho. Oh, thanks, man. Seriously, I appreciate that. With the amount of crap I take from a lot of people. Look, whenever you do things online or for the public consumption, you're going to take crap. I accept that as a part of the job. But it's always nice to hear people saying that they like what you're doing. So thank you so much, Jamie. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Cause Stark 180 writes, when do you think CG humans will be available? What do you think needs to be done for it to be 100% completely like real humans? I don't know. I think we're getting closer, but I think we're probably still 5 to 10 years away. It's doing things that aren't human is so much easier because it's not our own point of reference. When it's human beings, that's our point of reference, and we notice the smallest thing that's not 100% right. So we're not 20 years away from it, but I think we're probably still 5 to 10 years away from that. That's my best guess at any point. The next one. Let's see. William Kim writes, besides yourself, who is your favorite movie reviewer? Oh, gosh. Favorite movie reviewer? The guy at the Boston Globe is really good. The dude from Rolling Stone is really good. I got a lot. I've got a whole bunch of really good film reviewers. I have to think about that. I've never thought of it in terms of who's my favorite. I mean, my all time favorite one was Roger Ebert. Roger Ebert was my favorite film critic of all time. And I disagreed with him half the time. But again, it wasn't about agreeing with him or disagreeing with him. It was about how he communicated his thoughts and experiences with the movie that really made an impact to me and spoke to me. And he was my all-time favorite. Let's see. Dylan98 wrote, have you ever thought of doing any kind of sports talk? Yep. I'm not going to go into details. I had an interesting opportunity with ESPN Radio once, but I'm not even sure I'm allowed to talk about that. So I'm going to keep that. But yes, if for whatever reason I ever stop talking about movies, which haven't helped me, I hope I never stop talking about movies. Doing sports talk would be next on my list. That would absolutely be next on my list because I love sports so much. Actually, a friend of mine, Freddie Prinze Jr., he's on ESPN LA every once in a while. And he's great at it. I've listened. He's so good at it. So he's a guy who loves movies and can talk movies and talk entertainment, but he can transition over and talk sports just like that. Freddie's really good at that. Let's see. Alan Graham is writing, you do a great job, John. Always watch your vids. Love from Scotland. Thank you so much, Alan. I really appreciate it. I didn't even know anybody in Scotland watched my stuff, but I'm glad you do. Thanks so much, man. Let's see. Daryl Best Waldy writes, what is your favorite Denzel Washington movie? Oh, favorite Denzel movie. I mean, he won his Oscar for Training Day. So, I mean, obviously he was great in that. I've never thought about it. Sorry, man, you caught me. Any of these, what is your all-time favorite this? Or give me your top 5 that. Those are always questions that I would need time to step aside and sit down and think about for a while. Favorite all-time Denzel? Off the top of my head, I'll just say Training Day for now, but I reserve the right to change that answer once I think about it. Thanks for asking. John De Silva sent in a super chat. Thank you so much, John. Shriyas Srivatsav. I'm sorry I butchered your name. I know I butchered it. I am sorry I butchered it, but I tried my best. Personal question. Fair enough. I've often heard that dads are always very protective of their daughter when it comes to them dating. Have you ever had to face a protective dad? Describe your experience if you have. Honestly, no, and here's why. Because while I am not a dad, I have 2 little sisters, all right? And I was savage, like bad. I was bad protective. Like I would come home and if guys were hanging around the house, like just hanging out with my sisters, I literally would grab them and throw them off my driveway. I came home once and my sisters had some guys over, which is nothing wrong with having guys over, but I remember grabbing some and throwing them out of the house. It was so bad that I remember my sisters and my mother had to have what's the word called? An intervention. Had to have an intervention with me that was basically them telling me they'd had enough. I was making life hard for them. Because I was so overprotective. And there was that. Now, but because I was like that, I was always so respectful of any girl I was dating when it came to their fathers. So for instance, there was this one girl I was dating for a while. We had been dating for like 8 or 9 months, and she took me to go and meet her dad. And because she was a doctor, actually. So she took me to meet her father. And so we went out of town to go meet her dad, and we were going to stay there for the weekend. And she's like, oh, you and I are going to stay in this room. And I'm like, I am not staying in a room with you under your father's roof. No, I am not. Like, I was really, she's no, my dad is fine with that. I'm like, no. Because to me, I'm just thinking, if I'm the dad and the guy was coming over and wanted to sleep in my daughter's room, I don't care. Unless they're married, that ain't happening. So because I was so overprotective of my sisters, it made me look at it from what a dad's point of view would be about their daughter. And I was always super, super sensitive to that. Like, nope, not so. Even Anne, like, even after we got engaged, I think, I mean, like when I would go over to her place and she was living with her family, I would not, nope, we're not sleeping in the same room. I will sleep in the guest room. Thank you very much, because this is your father's house and I want to respect your dad. So I never really had any problems with that because I was probably more sensitive about it than the dads were, because I was such a cripplingly overprotective dad. I feel terrible for my daughter. Anne and I have this conversation. She was like, oh my God, our daughter is going to hate you. And I was like, yeah, our daughter will probably hate me. She's going to have to learn to live with it because I'm going to be super overprotective. And she will also have me wrapped around her finger, completely own me. But whatever, I'll just have to deal with that when the time comes, I guess. All right. Ben Rayner. Oh my gosh, we've been doing this for an hour already. Okay, guys, I will finish off these super chat questions. Again, please, no more super chat questions. Do not send any more super chat questions. Okay. Ben Rayner, right. What's the last watchable good Jim Carrey movie? For me, it's Bruce Almighty. Oh God! Again, I'd have to remember what order I watched them in, but I Love You, Philip Morris. I loved I Love You, Philip Morris. I think that one was great, but then I got to remember which order did that come in. I'd have to think about it. So let me say off the top of my head, I Love You, Philip Morris. Let's see. KW Garrett 83 writes, which is better, a true IMAX theater or AMC Prime? AMC Prime. Don't get me wrong, I love a good IMAX theater. AMC Prime. With the Dolby Atmos dual laser projection system and the Dolby Atmos surround sound, the AMC Prime theaters, the Dolby theater at AMC Prime, to me is the best movie watching experience you can have. And it's all those things. The dual laser projection system, which give you the deepest blacks, the richest colors, the amazing surround sound system, motorized reclinable leather recliners to watch your movie in. It's just an experience. It's the best. It's the absolute best. Let's see. TL Lucardo writes, what's your dream crossover film or TV idea? None really. I mean, if I ever thought about it, I often thought a crossover of The Matrix and Terminator. Because if you think about it, you could easily say those two are in the same cinematic universe. Easy. So I'll say that one off the top of my head. Let's see. Stanley Lewis writes, yo, John, do you think they plug the new acquisitions into the MCU, i.e. Fantastic Four, as quickly as they did Spider-Man, or will they do a slow bit? I think it'll be very, very slow. Because again, Spider-Man was easy. It's one character that you don't have to worry about his background and all that kind of stuff. The X-Men, first of all, present you with dozens and dozens and dozens of characters and a more complex problem to insert it from a sociological point of view into their film universe. So I think they're going to take their time with it. I really do. I think they're going to take their time. Chris Martin writes, would you like to see the Thrawn in a Star Wars film? I mean, sure, if they have a good idea for him. I don't want to see Thrawn just for the sake of having him there. But if they come up with a good idea and a good story and that character fits in well with it, then by all means, I love Thrawn. I would love to see that. Sure. Story comes first. Story comes first. Rodrigo Ramirez writes, thoughts on McGregor not defending his belt yet? I hate it. I hate it. Make him defend or fire him. And I'm saying that as a Conor McGregor fan. I love watching this guy fight. But they already had to strip one of his titles. Strip his other one. If he does not come back and defend, strip him and kick him out. Yes, he's your biggest pay-per-view draw, but you cannot allow any one guy to hold your entire company hostage. And that is what he's doing. He's holding the sport hostage for his own personal whims. It's not good for the sport. It's not good for the UFC. I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan. Big fan. But you cannot let this kind of shit happen. So it's either make him defend the belt before March or strip him of the belt. It's just that simple. I think that's what they need to do. Anyway, let's see. TL Lucardio, who would win, Master Chief versus Captain America? Oh, Captain America. Easy. Like that. Like that. Captain America. That's what I think anyway. Honest Introspection writes, thoughts on a few corporations controlling the internet. What do you think about the FCC completely ignoring the American people? Hey, I talked about that near the beginning of the show. Go back and check out the beginning of this. Net neutrality, I believe, is an absolute must. It is a must. And all you're going to do is cripple the internet and the benefit the internet presents, not just to the American people, but to the world. Once a new administration comes in that aren't in the pockets of these multi-mega billion dollar telecommunication companies, then we will get the net neutrality rules put back into place. Until then, we're just going to have to grin and bear it. As horrible as it's going to be. Alex Bose writes, John, do you want to have kids? Hello from Spruce Grove. Yes, Ann and I want to have kids. We have our plans for kids. Those plans are being kept to ourselves for now. But also, here's one of the big things is, when I have kids, it's time to move back to Canada. Because I got to grow up in Canada. And I want my kids to have that experience. And I'm not saying that when Anne's pregnant, that's when we move to Canada. I'm not even saying once the kid is born, we have to move to Canada, but probably before they start going to school. When I have kids, that's when it's time to start looking at moving back to Canada. And I'm not ready to do that yet. Anne's got a great career going right now. It's a couple more years away, but then we'll probably look at having kids. Thank you so much for the question. Hey, I said ask me anything, so you're totally fair to ask me that. Chris Martin writes, possible Deadpool kills the MCU? Nah, not going to happen. That I feel very, 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 very confident that that's not going to happen. Andrew Pena Carranza writes, going to see The Last Jedi in Ancaster, Ontario tonight. That is my favorite. If you're talking about the big Cineplex there, right by the Home Depot and the Costco, my all-time favorite movie theater is there. I drove across the country to go and watch Phantom Menace there when Phantom Menace opened because I wanted to see the new Star Wars movie in my favorite movie theater. And that's what I did. And I'm thrilled for you, man. I'm thrilled. I'm envious that you get to go to that movie theater tonight because that is my favorite movie theater in the world. Not because it's the best movie theater in the world, but I've spent so much of my life in that movie theater. It's crazy. I love that theater. Manuel Fernandez writes, with the Fox deal and how many people say how terrible it is for the industry and saying Disney has too much power, I can't help but feel scared for what the film industry will be like in the future. Sorry I keep bringing it up. Well, honestly, I don't see it as that big of a deal. This is not like the phone companies where there's 3 major phone companies. You have, with a lot of smaller studios getting bigger and bigger, whether you're talking about Blumhouse, A24, Annapurna, Lionsgate, Summit, Universal, Warner Brothers, Sony, Paramount, Disney. I mean, there's just a lot of competition still out there. And we're not even talking about the big, mega, powerful streaming companies. We're talking Amazon, Google, Netflix. I mean, this is not an antitrust situation. This is not a monopoly situation. There's still far too much big, significant competition. If 4 or 5 more of these big studios fall, then it becomes an issue. But right now, I don't think it's an issue. I really don't. And never feel bad about bringing it up. If it's something that's important to you, you bring it up. Nothing wrong with that at all, Manuel. All right, this next one comes to us from Santiago Paz, who writes, weird question. What do you drink in your AMC cup? Well, 2 things. One, right now, this clear liquid is actually a cola. It's called Zevia Cola. I was drinking far too much Diet Pepsi before, and there's a lot of crap in diet soda. And so I found this cola, this soda, that has no artificial sweeteners. It's got none of the bad health stuff in it. It doesn't quite taste as good as Diet Pepsi, I'll be honest, but I still like it. So that's Zevia, although it doesn't look like cola because it's clear. The other stuff you'll often see me drinking is that orange drink. All that is water with flavored vitamin shot. Just, it's those little bottles, do a quick squeeze, and it puts in a vitamin flavor. So it makes it taste like orange, and it gives it some extra vitamins. So that's what you often see me drinking. Thank you for asking. Let's see. Chris Martin. Where did it go? Chris Martin writes, any updates on the Wicked movie based on the musical? Not that I know of. Off the top of my head, I'm not really sure. Santos Regalado writes, are you able to give a brief rundown of your day-to-day and how you prepare your videos? Well, actually, once I get back from Canada from Christmas, I'm going to do a day in the life of video, which will kind of document how my day starts, what I do throughout my day, and then ultimately how my day ends. To let you guys see the chaos, it is just me doing my thing here. So that is coming. Keep your eyes open. Thank you for asking, but I've heard a lot of you guys have been asking me about that. That is coming. All right. K Major writes, last question. Didn't you cry or get choked up at the end of Lord of the Rings? Oh yeah, I did. The scene where the people of Gondor and Rohan kneel at the hobbits. It gets me every time. Yep. That scene when Strider says to them, my friends, you bow to no one. And the king kneels to these hobbit. Again, goosebumps, hair standing up on my arms. Just thinking about it, it's insane. Yes, I did get totally choked up at that. And I still do every time. Every time I watch that scene. My friends, you bow to no one. And all the kingdom of men and elves kneeling to these 4 hobbits. There you go. Yeah, right there. Anyway, thanks, K Major, for bringing that up. Let's see. Drink with a Mexican. I love that name. Drink with a Mexican writes, cocaine. Oh, come on, dude. Come on. Moving on. Odd thing. I do not do any drugs, and I don't smoke, and I don't drink alcohol. I mean, once in a while I'll drink alcohol for a social thing, but generally on my own, I don't like the taste of alcohol and I don't drink. So, little interesting bit of knowledge there. Alan Gonzalez Cordova writes, isn't it weird that years ago we used to dream with the Fox Disney deal and now it's here? Well, it's not just that, man. I mean, we're living in a golden age, man. Like Fox is now owned by a lot of their assets owned by Marvel. We're going to get to see the X-Men play in the MCU. That's happening. That's coming. We're living in an age where we get to have X-Men movies, and an age where we get to have Avengers movies, and an age where we get to have Justice League movies. I mean, it is great. I'm talking like 10, 12, 15 years ago, these were all fairy tales that this would ever actually happen. And now we're living in this age where these things happen. It's kind of cool. Angel Chang is writing, Star Wars 6 deleted scene, Misa bring a revenge on Anakin. Wouldn't that be funny? Oh, gosh. This next one comes to us from Bay McClouch, who writes, hey, John, tuning in now. Hope I didn't miss you saying no more super chats. You did miss it, but that's okay. Hope I didn't miss you saying no more super chats. Is it possible to get into the film industry if you don't have a strictly film background? I majored in psychology. Absolutely. I did not go to film school. Look, there's this great thing. There's a great film instructor, a legendary film instructor in Hollywood by the name of Dove S.S. Simmons. And he's done, Quentin Tarantino has taken his film program. A lot of people have taken his film program. Okay, he has what's called like the 48-hour film school, whatever, where it's done in 2 days. And I took that 2-day intensive thing he did. But he said something that is such common sense. He said, you want to make a movie? Here's how you make a movie. Get a camera. Get two of your friends to stand in front of it, hit record, 2 hours later, hit stop, you've made a movie. And really what he was saying is just do it. Look, and it all depends. The film industry is too broad of a topic because what? Do you want to be an actor? Do you want to be a film accountant? Do you want to be a producer? Do you want to be a writer? Do you want to be a critic? There's a million jobs in the film industry. You don't have to have a big, strict film background to get into the film industry. I have a law background. And here I am in the film industry, sort of, in a way. So absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. How you do it? I mean, that really all depends about which discipline are you interested in. There's 1,000 different... Do you want to be a makeup person? Do you want to be a set designer? Do you want to be a set construction person? Do you want to be an audio engineer? Do you want to be a film editor? There's a million jobs. So it all depends on which one you want to be in. But absolutely, if you want to do it, you can make it happen. You go ahead and do it. Let's see here. 2 more questions I'm going to take, and that's the end of the day. Let's see. Jake C. writes, what's the best and worst part about directing? Well, I don't have a lot of experience. Obviously, I directed my own film, and I directed a documentary as well. The worst part is having people surrounding you who don't get what it is you're trying to do on any given moment. That's frustrating as a director. It's understandable, but it's frustrating at the same time. The best part is working with a team of those people who all have different talents and gifts, making one vision come to life. It's an incredible experience as a director. It really is. So from my limited experience as a director, that's the best and worst thing to me. Okay, let's see. And the final question today. Oh, this question, and then I'll take 1 or 2 more from Twitter, because I know a lot of you guys have been sending in tweets. Memes are cool writes, John, do you think we will see more R-rated animated movies? I'm not sure. I mean, are we ever going to get more? Yeah, sure. Are we going to ever get into an era where you get 3 or 4 R-rated animated films a year in theater? I don't know about that. I really don't. I just think, some of the preconceived notions about what the genre is and who it appeals to, that makes that very, very tough. It makes it tough. So while I'm sure we will get a couple more, will it ever become a trend? My opinion right now is probably no, but I could be wrong about that. Let's just wait and see. Okay, let me now go back over to Twitter, take a couple more tweets, and then we'll wrap this thing up. This thing's gone longer than I was planning on doing, but that's okay. This has been fun. I hope you guys have been enjoying it. I certainly have been enjoying it. Let's see. This one comes It's another net neutrality question. It comes to us from Sirocco3. John, how badly will the loss of net neutrality, assuming the courts uphold it, will affect you? Well, that's the thing. We don't know what effect it's going to have. All we know now is a bunch of these rich billion-dollar telecommunication corporations can now do whatever the hell they want. What they do, we're going to have to wait and see. How it will affect each of us as individuals, we'll have to wait and see. I'm not looking forward to finding out, but I just don't know what the answer to that question is right now. Let's see. I'm going to try to skip movie questions because we can ask movie questions anytime. A lot of people ask about net neutrality in Disney, but I've taken a lot of those. A lot of people asking movie questions, which I don't understand why you're asking a lot of movie questions. You can ask movie questions any day of the week. So let me see if I can find one more. Let's see. We'll take this one. This is actually kind of an interesting one. This one comes to us from Arrow CW Flash writes, "Hey John, huge fan. Thank you so much. Are you excited for the new IMAX cameras that will be used in Infinity War?" I'm always really stoked when new camera technology comes around. I remember when the Red camera came out. If you're not into this world, then none of this will mean anything to you. But I remember when the Red camera came out. It was like, oh my God! I actually shot my movie, The Anniversary. I shot it on a Red camera. We shot it in 2K on a Red, and that was like revolutionary at the time. And I had a really good DP working with me who had access to a Red camera, and I was able to shoot my movie on a Red. I was just floored, and I loved it. So I'm always fascinated to see what these new cameras can do and what kind of results we get from these new cameras, because as the technology in these cameras advance, it means that other technology becomes more accessible and easier and cheaper as well for us to get our hands on and use. So this type of stuff really excites me, so I'm looking forward to it. All right, guys, that will do it for the first on my YouTube channel official Ask Me Anything AMA here I've done on the show. Hey, guys, I thought I would have like 300 people here, but there were like over 1,000 of you guys here joining in on this. I hope you enjoyed this. I know I had a lot of fun doing this. Maybe we'll do this like once a month. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do me a favor, guys. Let me know if you think doing this kind of a video maybe once a month is worth it. I hope, though, in the future, we get less movie questions. Like, what do you think about the MCU? I mean, because we can do that every day of the week. But let me know if you enjoyed this. Jump into the or hey, if you thought this was a useless waste of time, tell me it was a useless waste of time so I know not to waste your time or mine. Jump in the comments section and let me know. Again, thank you so much for being here today, guys. I've had a good time. And thank you for being viewers of my YouTube channel in general. It's awesome knowing how much the movies mean to all of us, that you would come here and engage with me and we can be a part of this big film fan community together. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much for that privilege and that honor. All right, guys, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're not subscribed already. Make sure you click the thumbs up button, leave a comment below. Follow me on social media. Follow me on Twitter. I do a lot of tweeting at John Campea. I'm going to go see Star Wars The Last Jedi tonight at the AMC Burbank 16. If you're there, make sure you come over and say hello. That'll do for me, guys. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.